Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. Last, I guess a couple nights ago now, we took a look at the brand new Ernst magnetic bit bar. That thing's pretty cool. Basically, it's what you know and love from the socket boss, but it comes on a magnetic rail. If you're so inclined and you want to populate it, say, in your socket boss, and then pull it out, throw it on the side of the cart, you know, whenever you're at a vehicle or at the job site, wherever you're going, you can certainly do that. But that was not everything that was included in the shipment. And this stuff you're about to see is not like brand new, but it is relatively new, and it's something we hadn't brought in. And we're just going to jump right in and showcase it. It comes in the form of a very, very slowly lowered item. And you probably already know what it is. So we'll just cut the fancy stuff and throw down what we've got. These, if you're thinking, hey, that's my color, that's green, when did this happen? If you recall, a while back we brought in some orange and green stuff from them. Then I've done more green stuff that I haven't been able to release because I foolishly always put like new tools, you know, that like those videos haven't released either. I'm way in the future on things, so it creates some interesting things where you can like release this, but then it spoils the tool haul type of a thing. And that's probably the scenario we'll be in here, so I might have to delay this one a bit or just release it and hope no one really like crosses over. So we shall see. But while you've had time to soak this in, these look amazing in green. It's one of those things, they look, in my opinion, they look better in person than they do online. It's not, obviously it's not like a dark conventional green, and it's not like the super lime. It's kind of more of like a sort of like a dark sublime, I would call it. It's basically what people want when, you know, they say like, oh, you know, what color are your tools? And the guy says green. This is what people are usually referring to. Case in point, since it's handy, this little Stahlwille here, this is like traditional green, right? Not sort of the high-vis sublime, you know, thing. So you can see the contrast between them. So just know that is what you're getting now. If you think, hey, I thought I'd seen like green, conventional green wrench racks on your channel somewhere, you have, and they came with the SK stubbies. SK was a company that used Ernst for their wrench racks, so that was in fact a dark green there. But what we have here is basically two items. We've got part number 5056. This is going to be a 15 tool wrench organizer. This is in like the default orientation, where basically, let's say we're going 1/4 to 1.25 inches, you would have your small wrench down here, and it ascendingly gets larger with your big wrench at the top. This right here, you're thinking like, oh, you got it upside down, idiot. Well, not necessarily, because aside from this being here, what we would have is the reverse, right? So if we take this and we put the big end at the bottom, you got the small end at the top, it's the reverse style. This is part number 5156. It is the 15 tool reverse organizer. The way this works in theory, let's say that we have our big 1.25 inches up here and it comes out not to here, and the A in Lancer like way over here to the R. So by having this flipped with the reverse version, we have our 1/4 here, and hopefully our drawer constraints will allow us to store not 15 wrenches, but 30 wrenches. If we had another one of these, we'll just flip this around, for example, and we've got kind of a small drawer we're working with. We've got our great setup here on this side, but then when you come to put this in and it's full of wrenches, it's not happening. So that's where the beauty of the reverse one comes in. Now there are basically two other things you need to know here. First off, this is the gripper style. This is kind of what I prefer because it's just more versatile. And what that means is when you look at the side profile here, there's sort of like these captive hooks. They're not difficult to get your wrench out, but basically you could grab it. That's kind of why there's a handle here. You can grab it and the wrenches are going to stay. Okay. Same thing here. Obviously the handle's a little bit smaller. For those of you curious or wondering, yes, you can totally cut both of those off. You can do whatever you need to do. And they're also, if you're thinking like, what's up with this? So it can hang, right? So, and you can hang it in any orientation that you so prefer. But they do offer another option in green and orange, and that would be the conventional rack. And it's still made out of plastic, still going to have the same color characteristics. But instead of having the gripper hook, it's just going to be open. So it's going to be easy in, easy out. The downside, while you can still pick it up and carry it like this, and you could probably get away if you walk like perfectly straight and don't swing or anything, It's just not as good of a option if you plan to open the box, grab these, and take it to a vehicle or a job site or work area. This one does everything that the standard one does. Maybe a slightly more inconvenient hold on the wrench than the open one, but that comes with extra versatility. So if you're the type that's just like, hey, you know, your girlfriend's over and her, I don't know, you got to change her transmission fluid or something. She drives a Grand Vitara. What's the oil pan on that? Nobody knows. So you have to grab your whole wrench rack, right? It's that type of a deal. If you're the type that just, this is going to be stationary in your box and you're just going to go grab what you need, go with the open one. It's just, again, personal preference there. Now, the only knock that I personally have on these, and it's a minor thing, but it is kind of sad. If you like this green and you think, man, I'm going to get those for my stubbies, or, you know, hey, I've got 5 flare wrenches and I've been wanting to get a rack like this, I'm going to do that. Unfortunately, right now, and this is where you come in, this is where you can leave comments and you can like hit up Ernst on social media, email him, whatever, and say, man, you know, this, I love this green that you people make. I just bought, you know, 4 of them, but I need them for my stubbies. I need them for, you know, 5 wrenches. I want to put my 7-piece set in one of these. Because that's really, like I said, the only downfall. I'm going to drop in our fancy smancy 2023 catalog. Why? Because I don't have to hold my cell phone here now, and you can kind of see what I mean. So this, again, you're going to see these orientations here. And if we just take a gander at this, okay, you've got all your color choices, which colors are good. That's what I prefer. But you basically, with Ernst, your default is red and black. Nothing wrong with that. That's what most people do across the board, including tool companies. And then they sometimes jump into the high-vis. High-vis is not as new, okay, as the blue, the orange, and the green. It's kind of like, hey, you know, this is a good idea. It shows up. Some people really prefer that. The blue, the orange, and the green are sort of the newcomers, and they still haven't quite worked their way into all of the products. All right, so case in point, you're thinking like, hey, man, this is awesome. I want to buy that, but I've got a wrench set, and it's like 7 or 8 or 10 or 11. I'm going to have extra slots. Sometimes that's not a detriment because you can expand the wrench line, but sometimes, like, that's all you need, number one. Or number two, there may not be, like, let's take the X-frames, for example. You always heard me say, I love these wrenches, I wish they'd make more of them, and they just flat out do not do it. Okay, like, they get to that 3/4 or 7/8, and there's nothing. I want 15/16, I want 1 1/8, but they just simply do not manufacture it, so I cannot expand the set when you have everything that they manufacture, right? That's the same thing here. It might be like you could buy, you know, standard wrenches, and you get like specialty long ones, and maybe that company just makes 10 through 19. You'd love to have, you know, a 24 and a 27, but they don't do it. So that's where it kind of comes in. You could, I've never done it. I've never had the heart to cut one of these. I suppose you could. And you think, well, hey, why would you do that? Just leave it open or throw something else in it. Well, if you're like OCD, you're never going to do that. The main thing is, let's say that we start down here. And like, I think I've got an Icon wrench set in the Master Tech that goes like 1/4 to 3/4. Very typical stuff, right? I'm going to be super, super happy. It's going to look amazing. And then we get to here and it's like everything beyond this point is like dead space. Now, I could come in and I could put something else there, but you get into a point where if you're like, well, hey, you know, take your 7-piece like ratcheting set and put a 7-piece standard non-ratcheting set with it. You get to certain points where like your 1/4, 5/16, 3/8 fit here, and then you get to like this 5th slot and they don't really fit anymore, or they don't clear, and then way up here, you're going to run into the same thing. So it sort of limits what you can do. And what I would like to see, and I hope what some of you will agree with me on, is when you take a look at these, like the stubbies, okay? Full disclosure, the SKs are covered, they're in green. But I go out and we've recently bought some other stuff. I won't say what they are, because I never know the video release order. But I would love to have this in orange and green and blue, okay? Same thing, if we flip this, like here's our standard rack there, you'll see all this in a second, but you see like right here, red, black, high vis, red, black, high vis, red, black, and then finally you get to the blue, green, and the orange, and the 16 tool iterations. No 19, and then they don't have them in the reverse at all. So all I would like to see is all the colors filter into all the products, and I think it's just a deal where so many people do the conventional red and black. You know, I don't know their sales figures. I don't know if, you know, more people would buy these if they knew they existed, type of a thing. It's just a situation where when you're someone like me, you would absolutely love to see this. Case in point, this is really the big deal I'm going to zoom in on for you. This is what we have here on the table, is just the standard wrench organizer, the gripper style. And what all these are, where you see like the shaded part number, like you've got red and black, right? That's your default stuff, bread and butter, works for most people. If you're a little extra like me, or you just really love one color, or you want to just differentiate your tools in some different manner, you get down here and you're like, oh, 11 tool is high vis. But then you come over here and what we have is the 15, and you can see red, green, black, orange, high vis, and blue. So green, orange, and blue. That's what I want to see. The reason you don't see 6 color choices on all of these other items, they're not there. So 4 tool, 5 tool, 6 tool, 7 tool, 8 tool, 9 tool, 10 tool, 11 tool. Some of you are thinking like, wait, I have a lot of 11 piece wrench sets. I know. So do I, and it's why. So typically, like standard wrench sets, unless you do something crazy, it's going to be 7, 10, or 11. Okay, and Ernst, to their credit, has all of that covered. Like I said, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 even, 13 as well. You skip 14 and you jump to 15, which that wouldn't be a huge deal. You know, if you had 14 wrenches and a 15 tool organizer, live with it. But if you got like 7, 10, or 11 and it's going into 15, and let's say that it's the big sizes that don't exist, that sort of sucks, right? So it's no knock against the product. The product is great. The colors are awesome. It's just I so wish that we had these colors in the other product line. So I don't know if maybe it could be like a soft rollout or a trial deal. Maybe they like look around or like poll customers, you know, social media, email something and say, hey, you know, what do you typically have? 7-Eleven, you know, what is it? Where should we start? Or if it's just like, hey, you know, make do with what we've got. So I'm tempted to try to cut one. I hate to do it. Like if we cut, let's say we go 1/4 to 3/4 and I cut like the top side for the big wrenches. I don't know what this edge would be like. One, it probably wouldn't look near as good as like their machined finish, but we could save a ton of space there, and then also I'd have that to do something with. I mean, you can always find something to do with it, right? You always have like that oddball wrench that's too big for anything, but then it's like, is it really gonna, you have 3 more that can go there? It's kind of a crapshoot. But the reason I say I might try it is the price point on these things. You look at them and you're probably like, oh, that's probably like $25 or something crazy. These are $10.95. Like, I know that takes some time to sink in. You're like, $10.95? What? You're not serious, right? No, these are literally $10.95. If you had $11 and we're tax exempt, I suppose, and walked into Ernst, you could come out of there with a nickel and a wrench rack. Okay, like, that's the crazy thing, and that's where, you know, you could have some leeway if you want to truly like play around and try to make this fit your 1/4 to 3/4 stuff, right? Ratcheting and non-ratcheting setup. It's $11, you know. If it turns out terrible, but it's still functional, so be it. You know, you can save up next time you order, grab another one. We might do that. I don't know, because again, it's a deal where with so many things I own, I can't expand it. I would love to go out and get the 15/16, you know, X-frame. With the, I can't say them, but like we've got some ratcheting wrenches recently with switches maybe. And I'd love to have a couple of bigger sizes in that. They're simply not manufactured. I can't go out and add them to the collection, right? So you're probably thinking though, hey, this is that guy that spends way too much time talking and analyzing things. Why did you get these? Well, quite simply, we have expanded recently. We brought in a lot of wrenches. Not real recently, but like in terms of videos you haven't seen, yes. So green is the perfect color for what I've done. And essentially what we have is I'll take you over to the box, and then we'll come back over here and we'll kind of lay everything out. You ready? Here we go. Okay. So basically this is important for another reason. You get to see blue, you get to see them populated in blue, and I get to showcase this. This right here is our standard gripper. It's oriented with your small wrench at the bottom, your big wrench at the top. And then this is the reverse gripper. Again, pay attention here, like our 19. If I had the 19 up here by, in this case, 1 1/8 inches, this whole thing like slides over and we get 2 wrench racks in here, you know, and sometimes you don't even have a drawer this wide and you're like, well, I can only have one now. So the reverse is a great idea. The way this works, again, you can kind of see how the wrench is set down and these little rubber pegs hook it. If you want to get it out, you get it out. So I swear, this is another thing we can talk about. These are old news, the Hayco Maxlines. I know I have an 18. I just don't know where it is. I think I was using it on the truck. I've never been able to find it, but I know I bought one. I think one time when I was like, man, where did that thing go? I was legitimately like, I went back and checked my KC tool orders. I thought maybe I was crazy. I don't know where it is. I literally, that's why there's a space there. I could easily move this up by the 17. I bought an 18 because I use 18s. I don't know what's happened to it. The 10 is not here, but the 10 is in the trunk of the Challenger because that's a battery terminal. So anyway, though, that is the way the reverse gripper works right here. If we want to come in and grab the 15/16 Stahlwille, boom. You get the idea. You can pick this up, either one of these, and they don't spill out. Now, coming over here, this is not a gripper. This has the open hook. You'll note they're much bigger. See that side profile versus that side profile? So this is available if you love this style, or you think, man, you know, open-end wrenches, I'd never need to take those out of my box in some giant set. I just grab 2 wrenches and surely I'm going to get it right with 4 options, okay? Kind of my thoughts as well, and here's the deal. When you look at this, this is a lot of wrenches, and that's like, we're up to 24, 21, right? So I do plan to continue to add to this, but I mean, geez, like the biggest I'd probably go is like 32, 36. You know, in metric, and I'll still have some slots. And then see, that's just, you have dead space. And that's, if this was available in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or I'd take the 11, you know, I'd be totally fine with one open. I'd be so much happier. Like I said, I just haven't had the heart to cut these, but you know, at $10.95, you can certainly give it a go. And then the other side of me, like, this is a set that you could expand it, and so I keep that in mind, but you know, it is what it is. This gives you an idea of what we've got to work with. The situation, though, if you think back to what I do in the Master Tech and what we've done with socket bosses, what do? We do orange for SAE, and we do green for metric. So this right here is SAE. I know it's confusing because it's open box 13, but you have to look for the size markings up there, 1 1/8, right? These are sort of obstructed, but if we would focus there, you can see like 7/16, right? Come over here and it's clearly, you know, it's metric 24, 22, 19, 15, 13, etc. So that's what we're gonna do. These go away. These are going to green, and it's perfect because they're Stahlwille. We've had these a long time. We've added a couple to it over orders. But what happened is this, okay? We've got some more Stahlwille wrenches. These are double open end, just like we have here, but these are SAE, okay? Now, the problem is that's a pretty decent set of open end wrenches, but it's only 1, 2, 3, 4. Might be another one somewhere. I want to put them here, but it's not going to fill up much space, right? But the plan is we can expand over time, add to it, and then maybe like some stuff that doesn't have a home goes. But when these came in, they displaced these, which right back there, this is about as compact of a wrench organizer as there is. The only downside is you kind of have to like fish around and be like, oh, that's the 13 and this is the 10. You can sort of eyeball it and get good with it. And it is incredibly awesome how tight that keeps them. But I kind of like this. I like what Ernst does. I like seeing the wrenches laid out in this manner. And that's what I want to do with these, but I want them to be green. So we can do that. So in case in point, you can absolutely grab this sucker just like that, carry it around if you want to. It's not as nice as if we had a handle or a bigger surface area like we have on the wrench racks from Ernst, but I'm going to take these, we're going to throw them in that long standard green one, and then we will remove these guys and get them in the reverse. You know, I was going to just do this, but I decided, you know, this is one of those things that's probably oddly satisfying. And, we're going to run with that. So I'm going to can it, we're going to time lapse it, but we will be taking these wrenches. But again, this is super awesome of a profile, but it's not like user friendly. Like if you're trying to maximize box storage, you can't beat that. But in terms of like, hey, grab the 17 for me, it's kind of like, which one? So this is going to be way better. It's why I picked it out. But I thought, you know, this is one of those super satisfying things. So you're going to get to see it time lapsed. Let's go. And there we are. We had one small issue. The 15 right here, which I thought I had a 16. We don't. But 13, 14, and 15 were pretty tight. 14 especially with 15. 15 just like it needs to be down a slot basically. So I can't do that because we fully populated, but we've gone from this tiny footprint that's not that user friendly but is great for space constraints to something I much prefer, which is I can come in here and I can see this is my 10, there's the 13, 17, and 19. It's just a way nicer setup for me. In this case, all that we have overage of is going to be 1, 2, and 3. So what I would like to do here, obviously, I thought I had this thing lined out. I thought I had a, let me double check this. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We need a 16. I must be cheap. I was trying to like buy these as they're in stock and stuff. So we need a 16 and an 18, and that'll take up 2 of those. And then I guess we do something a little bit bigger. Or maybe we need to size down, who knows, but this is set up. It's in the beautiful green for Stahlwille. And now what I'm going to do is not make you watch it time lapsed. I'm just going to go grab our open-end ones and I'm going to throw them down here. And for all the OCD people, I will go ahead and take this away. Now, something I want to talk about before we do that, I've never played with one of these and I'm kind of intrigued by them. I prefer, like, I'm someone that wants my wrenches either on pegboard or in a drawer in something like the gripper, okay? But they make these little plastic tabs that would hold the wrench racks, and they'll like stand them up. They're basically like a set of feet, you know? If you have used those, let me know what you think of them, because I'm kind of like, I almost want to buy them just to like see what they're like, but I know that it would be super, I can't imagine myself, maybe like ratcheting wrenches would be handy to leave out, but again, I'd want that to be like maybe a smaller set, like maybe 7-piece or something. But let me know if you have used that. You can kind of see it there when you see that standing up. It does hang, but they do make feet as well. So it's kind of what I was talking about. But let's go ahead and get those double open-ended in this rack so we can put these two side by side and enjoy the glorious green of Stahlwille. And there we are. Beautiful, isn't it? Let me know your thoughts. We're going to call it good here. Oh, wait, we're zoomed in. Yeah. So we're going to make this a little dramatic. You can see the open end to this side. You can see our box end to that side. Just going to slowly pan out so you can appreciate it all. And boom, there they are. Now the beauty of this, again, your standard wrench gripper and the reverse gripper is we have things on opposite sides, meaning your tiny drive down here, which we started as 6, is at the bottom, and then our 6, which is technically a 4 and a 5 on the open end here, is at the top. And it's not necessarily that those two would have issues, but the opposite sides would. So in this case, our biggest wrench is the 19mm. If we had another one of these side by side and the 19 was there, we just have to push away. We've already covered this, but now you can kind of see it, right? And so in this case, with the reverse gripper here, 19's at the top. In the reverse, the 19 is at the bottom. So I'll scoot these guys in for you. We can kind of examine it a little bit better, and you can see what I mean. Now, this isn't the greatest example because I've started at the bottom on both. But in theory, as we get bigger, we start to get closer and closer to this rack, right? But we beautifully also have this stair-stepping down, so we grant ourselves that extra drawer space. I've got to say, it looks fantastic. Again, for Stahlwille, this is about as good as you can do in terms of colors available to you. Granted, yes, they are, you know, like sort of more of an SK green like you would see here, but I am a big fan of this shade of green. I think it also works really well with the orange, and it actually looks really good with blue. So you can kind of nitpick that all you want to, but the bottom line is these are pretty cool. And if you're thinking like, man, those are, you know, some nice wrenches there, you know, you sure you want to move that thing around? I have full faith in these. I've had them for a long time. Not this color, obviously, but the other ones. And yes, I carry them. That's why I haven't cut the handles off all of them. You can get them from job site to job site, or in my case, from the box to a cart, or way back at the back of the shop if I'm doing stuff on the driveways. So, like I said, this is the gripper, and this is way better setup than having the standard rack, which you totally, if you're careful, you can move it around too. It's just, it's way easier. This allows for a little bit of operator error, whether you stumble or don't quite maintain a perfect profile. And if you're wondering, like, what happens, like, how well does it hold these wrenches? Well, if you turn them over, nothing's falling. Some of these are pretty big. Like, I mean, yeah, we have a 4 and a 5 at the top. Here's my hand position, basically the thumb only on this side. This is just pinched. The other 3 fingers are here. I only have 2 hands. I know you've never seen me, so just have to run with me on that one. So, yeah, I mean, this is why, in my opinion, the gripper is kind of the way I would lean. If you're on the fence and you don't know, I would advise you go with the gripper. Why? It's just a little bit more versatile. If you absolutely hate, like if you just, I want my wrench and I want it to come out with 0 friction or, you know, mess, the opened one does do that for you, but it's just not as versatile. And honestly, I mean, that's effortless. You know, I'm right-handed, so if I come in left-handed and I want the 19 here, you just rip it out. It's pretty simple. For the OCD people, you can thank me. You're like, hey, that's not even. There's a gap here. It's too big. Yes, but rest easy, my OCD friends, because that's for our future 18 millimeter. So you can kind of take it in stride, I suppose. So, I love these things for $10.95. Like, when was the last time you got anything of this magnitude for $10? It's crazy. And the craziest part, this isn't from China. This isn't like, you know, global components sourced and, you know, packed in America. This stuff is made in America, manufactured in Oregon. So, you've got the best of both worlds. You've got, you know, the dirt cheap price of $10.95, and yet it's made in America. That's the glorious combination that you hardly ever see. I've had the regular racks for a really long time. Obviously, I haven't had issues with them. I suppose over time, like, I mean, let's say that you use these religiously all day, every day, and you're the type that even though you know you're going to need the 19 again in a second, you go ahead and put it back. So it's constantly in and out. I would be sure over time this would wear a little bit. But again, factor in, is it going to stay in your box? How often will you move it? And like I said, I've personally not reached that point. If some of you have, feel free to leave a comment. For all I know, some of you might have that exact scenario and be that exact personality type, and you still haven't experienced a problem after years. So at work, I have 2 red. At work, you know, like red, you know, why would this guy get red? Works colors are red, and there's a red open rack. I think that might have been before the gripper was around. Don't hold me to that. Or maybe it just wasn't like as advertised as well. But it's been there a long time. That thing's still doing just fine. There's really nothing to wear on it. But I gotta say, for Stahlwille, SK, this would be another good color combination in my opinion. And then again, like whether you're Snap-on, Wright, Harbor Freight, Mac, you know, Gador, whatever, if green is your color, this is a great option. It's the only option I really know of, to be honest with you, for this style of a holder. But price point, build quality, it's very, very difficult for you to find a better storage option for your wrenches. Now, the only thing, and again, that I could complain about, and it's really more of a compliment in my opinion, because I like this well enough to say, I wish this was available in the stubby, in the 4 tool, the 5 tool, the 7 tool, the 10 and 11 tool. And like I said, if you are the same way, please leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know, like, what colors. Do you want blue in stubby? Do you want blue in 7 tool? And what do you typically wind up with? Maybe some of you do purchasing or manage a place. Others of you might just constantly be like, well, I've had this French set for 3 years. I think I'm going to try a new one. What do you go back to? Do you get like the massive set, from like 1/4 to 2 inch? Or do you just get the default 1/4 to 3/4 for you metric people? That's like, what, 10 to 19? Do you have to have 7 and 8 added on? Do you go bigger? Let me know in the comments, because again, that might influence, like product development or placement. So the other thing I'm curious about, and I'm that guy that will ask these questions, and I want to know if there was like a limited, I have no idea if Ernst will do this, or, what it would cost, or if it's like, that's a stupid idea, it'll take way too much money, time, and effort, and we'll never profit from it. But let's say there was a deal where, like, okay, we've had enough of these idiots, annoy us, that we'll make a run of, 7 tool wrench racks in green, orange, and blue. And if it was a deal where there was like, I want to know how many people would like buy that. Like, if you had to pay in advance, you're not going to get fleeced. I don't know, maybe it's a small production run, maybe like 50 of each. I don't even know what's feasible. I have like no back-end knowledge of anything. But like, let's say that they were willing to do 50 of each. And since it's a small run, the costs are higher, and it's going to come out to, I don't know, we'll just say double, where we can get this for $10.95, you're going to have to pay, you get a smaller rack, but you're going to pay double for it. So we'll say $20. How many of you would actually be game for that? It's one of those things I'd kind of, I like it well enough that I will ask those questions. And I like, before I do that, if I can find a lot of other people that think the same way, I prefer to do that. So I sort of have like ammunition, like another card on file, type of a deal. And it might be a deal, like, I don't know if they would do like, okay, we'll do special runs, but it has to be 100. Obviously I cannot use, at least at this point in time, I don't know, if I stay single and, project cars continue to elude me, maybe we could use 100 wrench racks. I personally don't see it getting to that point. But, past maybe like 4 or 5 of each configuration, that's a lot of wrench racks for one guy to take on, right? So I don't know if it would be a deal where like, hey, we'll just shut up here, we're going to make a run, you go sell them, you're going to have to pay a bunch of money. Is that something that people would actually like? Would you come in and be like, hey, there's that idiot, I can't believe it, but he got him to make the stubbies in green and orange, I got to go buy one from him, or I got to buy one from Ernst on some like stupid, tab they added to their website? Who would actually do it? And that's a very serious question, because again, while this is awesome, and this isn't bad at all, especially when you consider the 18s go in here, and I can easily add 2 more bigger wrenches. Stahlwille makes them. It's not a problem. Coming in over here, we'll still add a couple. Again, I don't do near as much in metric as I do SAE. But like I said, with like the Harbor Freight stuff, it's 1/4 to 3/4 or 1/4 to 1 inch or something, and they don't make it. And let's say that it's just like an oddball wrench, long pattern ratcheting with a switch, and you can't find anyone else that makes one in the size that would be bigger or smaller to like complete a rack. I do think there's a market. I don't know. Like I said, like, is it 7? Is it 11? Is it 10? Like, if I sit here and I'm like, yeah, do 11, and then they get talked into it, and then everyone's like, oh, I'd buy that if it was 8, So leave your thoughts, because again, there's no guarantees here. I'm sure if they wanted to manufacture them, they would be in the catalog right now, so they probably have pretty good reason, But I'm one of those like eternal optimist dreamer types, and it's definitely something I would personally love to see. But on that front, we've covered pretty much everything we can. You get a feel for these two, and it's just awesome, because again, if you either A, love green, or B, like stuff themed for your tools, like green would be the choice of color for Stahlwille. Similarly, again, for myself, I kind of like color coding. And I know red and black, blue and red, those are like your de facto things everyone does that people accept. But I'm different. And the orange roll cart, I like orange and green. And in the main box, I like blue and green. So that's just the way it is. Blue and orange would be for my SAE stuff. Green would be for metric. Some of you are appalled by that, and you're like, I love this green. You're a fool for not using it for all of the wrenches. But to me, it's just, it works better. You know, like I can come in and I can look at the socket boss, and if it's orange, I know it's SAE. If it's green, I know it's metric. Same thing, a lot of you know, like red, you know, is metric and black is SAE, whatever you do. But it's about all I got for you, but I am curious in that I cannot stress how much I would love to see the colors continue to expand. Like I said, I'm sure they have a game plan. They probably have good reasons. They've got their sales data. They know their customer base way better than a random guy on the internet that makes videos. But it's just, man, it would be so great if we had these new blue, really all three of the colors would be my cup of tea. So give me your thoughts on that. Let me know what types you would want most. Like, what's the most important to you? You don't care if your stubbies don't have a rack? Or is it like, man, you know, everything else I can make do with, but if the stubbies could have one? Whatever your wildest dreams are, leave it down below. I mean, who knows? Maybe something will come of it. Maybe nothing will come of it. I can't guarantee anything. But it is nice to dream and, you know, kind of think about the future. So on that note, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to get these in the box, and then we will call it good. All right, that text that came in, it was actually someone telling me that the Astros just won the World Series. So that's awesome. What sucks is I thought I was going to be in this, see the end of the game. Apparently we didn't quite make that. So basically I was in there, I saw him go up 4-1, got to see the whole 6th inning, and I was like, you know what, I think I got time to do this and get in before the end, and I was wrong. So anyway, I've kind of missed the end, so no rush now, but this is not how this would be. Who knows, it might be. But I wanted to showcase the blue and the green side by side, because let's face it, they look really good. They're complementary colors, right? So this is a potential layout. I mean, you could easily have like, you know, like this is the box end wrench drawer, right? And so you have your SAE and your metric, but you know, it's one of those things, you know, like I kind of know, you know, how the Stahlwilles are set up, but my nephew was over here and I'm like, hey, go grab me the 13 millimeter. Again, this is a knock on Stahlwille. Like open box 13 is everywhere, and there's not a size stamping down here. That's like the one thing I wish was different on this. But if I tell him, hey, go grab the 13, it'll be on the green holder, it's a lot easier to figure out, right? Even though, again, all of these say 13 as well. So it is what it is. But man, that just, I can't get like a much better of an angle for you. Unfortunately, I'm backed up against the bumper of the Duster, but just looks so good. So what I'll do now is I will pull these, we'll slide these or something, and I'll put the metric open end in here so you can see the green side by side. Ready? Here we go. Nope, gonna make you look at that again. So this is just scooted down. You do when you use these, and I've got them basically not touching, but very, very close, especially if we had a big wrench on the top, we'd have to tweak things. But if you do opt to use, like if you just love this and you say screw the reverse orientation, you create these sort of like triangular shapes here. So like spare stray wrenches or oddballs or like a crescent wrench or something, you can kind of drop down in there. Same thing if you had like stubbies, or like in the back we've got those like ignition wrenches, you know, they would drop down. But the real payoff right here is going to be this angle, and there we go. So not ideal. Again, I know it's not fully populated on either one. We'll definitely get this one taken care of. This side, not as big of a concern. I mainly use the double open end, either A for access or B like a backer wrench. If I was tightening something with 2 wrenches, you know, like this holds or spins, whatever. It's just works well together, right? But that's what we've got. Here they are side by side. Man, that looks good. And again, complementary with the blue as well. Super easy. Metric green, SAE blue. Not conventional, but it's what I do. So you do you, and I'll stick with what I like. But it's just a deal where this, I don't really mind this excess. Obviously, I'd like if we could like chop it off, but then the sad thing is with the double open end, I'll probably at some point expand this, and so that's why it'll stay here. In the meantime, it's dead space, but again, I mean, you can like come in and these little offsets, they don't really go per se with what we've got going on, but I can like tuck them in and we're home free, right? I could come in and like our long Stahlwille 13, you can like throw that in somewhere, you know? So you can make use of it. I mean, it's not like ideal for people, but you can certainly do some different things. So on that front, I think that's about it. So again, let me know your thoughts on these. If you hadn't seen the green, which I hadn't seen the wrench racks in person. Pliers rack, yes. Drawer organizer, yes. It's my first time with the green wrench racks. It looks stupid good, especially, again, the black, which, hey, most people have black drawer liner, right? It just all makes it pop extra. And again, just looking through the camera and then looking to the side, it truly does look better in person. The camera doesn't do it justice, at least in my opinion. We'll get these out of here. Some of you are going to like be appalled by that. So, like I said, not super difficult to do that. We just grabbed 3 wrenches with my non-dominant hand, got them out. But standard gripper, reverse gripper, side by side, they pair well together. Again, some like wrench sets, you know, if you have like the same manufacturer, same style, say ratcheting, non-ratcheting, it would work and line up like beautifully. This is a little bit different, and you know, you just kind of take it all with a grain of salt. But man, that's nice. How should we do the wrench drawer though? Like, is it better to have all metric in one drawer? What would you do? All metric and then an all SAE drawer? Or would you have your combination wrenches, SAE and metric, and then another drawer for your open end? Personally, I think it's better to do it this way. You know, like you're in here and you're gonna grab the 17 and you want the double open end and you want the standard combo wrench, you've got them side by side. But curious what you would say. I can tell you, just one more little thing to add on here. The one thing I really wish about this box is that we had like another full-size drawer, because I could then line out all of the wrenches in one drawer as opposed to like having them strung out through the entire box. But anyway, that's what we've got. Let me know your thoughts on all this, particularly what you would like to see. If you like this, but you've got dead space, or you've got like smaller sets that are totally good and you're content with them, what would you like to see size-wise from Ernst in the new colors? Because I would love to know. And who knows, maybe it'll happen someday. Maybe we can like, you know, fan the fire or something. So right now I've got to, you know, like sort this back out and kind of like figure out how I want to lay this out, because we have these and that pushed out the Heikos, and it's just, I think we need more space for this stuff. So I'll be working on that. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. Most importantly, I just hope you get to take in the sweet green wrench racks, because again, it just super cool color. Pops with the black, looks great with these wrenches. And again, if you're a fan of green, this is the route you would want to go. So in terms of the grippers, everything that I pulled out stayed together, 0 issues. And this gets used quite a bit, so it's still gripping. And that's about all I can tell you in terms of the long-term stuff. But as always, your thoughts and opinions, leave them down below. With that said, thanks so much for watching. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I hope I catch you back here next time for more action from the shop.